Everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Game 1 of the NBA Finals for Draftkings for Fanduel. We got a Millie Maker on Draftkings. We'll probably have one for the entire Finals. And we got a Finals matchup that, in my opinion, I expect it to be very close. Expecting it to be at least 6 or 7 games. Boston is a very tough matchup for Golden State with how much length they have and how much different looks they'll throw defensively. So, should be a fun series. Let's get started. As always, if you enjoyed my content, appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out all the other links down below in the description. I will have a prize picks video out after this as well, taking a look at the NBA props that we have on prize picks. But let's go ahead and get started over on DraftKings. So the most expensive player, surprisingly, maybe to some people, would be Jason Tatum. He's more expensive than Steph Curry on the road. Tatum's coming off of a tremendous series against Miami. He really finished strong in that one with 4 straight games of over 50 fantasy points. Had one poor game mixed in where he only shot 3 of 14, but he's been really crashing the boards, getting you a lot of assist opportunities, and back-to-back games where he's gotten you 3 stocks as well has really helped him. And in this matchup, Golden State, he's played them a couple times during the regular season. He's averaged 40 minutes, which probably expect more than that. That's a lot for the regular season, but maybe expect a little bit more in the playoffs, at least in the finals. And he has averaged a double-double and averaging 50 fantasy points, basically. So he does make a lot of sense if you wanted to try to get him into your captain spot, or you can try to get him into your flex. If you wanted to save a little bit at captain and go with more studs, that's something I'm looking to do. But no problem getting to Tatum. No problem getting to Steph Curry either. He only played a couple games. Played limited minutes in a couple games against Boston this year. Only averaged 24 minutes, but he's averaging about a fantasy point per minute. Didn't have great shooting performances in either game, 9 of 25 total, and he only made 6 of 18 threes. Looking at his fantasy scores, he still gives you a ton of upside just because he's not only scoring a lot, taking a lot of shots, but he's getting you assists at a really high rate in the last series against Dallas, and he's rebounding at a pretty good clip as well. So at the top 2 studs, you're always going to try to get to them if you can. I'll be looking at lineups to get to both of these guys. Jaylen Brown is also in the mix as well. It might be tough to get to all 3 of these top dogs, but I don't mind Brown. I think maybe you can consider Marcus Smart instead. I know he's listed as questionable, but I fully expect him to play. I mean, he played 40 minutes in Game 7, and he played extremely well in that one. And now he had about multiple days off to rest and feel better. So unless he happened to re-injure that somehow, not related to basketball, expecting him to play. Maybe they're just trying to get it to the heads of Golden State. But really like Smart just with how much upside that he gives you in all categories. He took 22 shots last game in Game 7. He's been aggressive in the last series against Miami, and he should get some open looks in this one as well, and he can also get you defensive stats, which is nice. So he's a guy that I will be looking to play in the flex, and also can make room for him in the captain in some lineups just to free myself up with some more salary. Other picks at the top end. Klay Thompson at home. He's been kind of around the same type of player. He's had a couple of big games, the closeout games is where he's really shined against Dallas and then against Memphis. He's had his best games in the closeout games of those series. But otherwise, he's been right around 30, maybe under that fantasy-wise. So he's okay. He's not, I probably like Smart more than Klay Thompson, just with more categories Smart will contribute in. Horford, didn't have great scoring games last couple of performances, but he's played big minutes and he was getting you a lot of rebounds, 14 and 9 rebounds, and giving you some defensive stats mixed in. He's also in play, but I don't mind going cheaper for a little bit cheaper. Looney is 200 less. Robert Williams wasn't much of a factor in the last couple of games in the Miami series, so we'll see. I mean, there's not a ton of reason to have both Williams and Horford for a large part of the game against Golden State, because they do like to go small at times with Draymond at the 5. And you definitely, when Draymond's at the 5, you probably won't see Horford or Williams in there together. And then going further down here, I don't mind getting the Jordan Poole at 64. He's pretty affordable. And, kind of the 6th man off the bench. Looks like Otto Porter will probably play. He's expected to play, I believe. So he's going to be another spark off the bench. And Gary Payton is a game-time decision. So we'll see what they decide to do. Probably against Boston with these 2 bigs. I think they'll continue to start Looney and bring Payton off the bench, especially missing a lot of time. They probably don't want to play him huge minutes right out of the gate. But if he's in at $1,600, he makes for a good value just because he's probably going to play over Kuminga and Moody. And don't have much interest in playing Tice for no reason. And then that's it. I don't see myself playing anybody in the $1,000 range just because very limited minutes that they'll get. If now that Porter should be back, and now that we could see Gary Payton. So looking at some builds here. First one that kind of intrigued me was looking at one with going a bit cheaper at captain, maybe like an Andrew Wiggins. At home, he played really well so far this postseason, playing big minutes, getting you rebounds. Had a couple of games where he's had double doubles. He's gotten you games where he's had multiple blocks and steals, and he's had a couple of games over 40 fantasy points. So if he happens to have one of those games in game one of the finals, then there's a good chance it could be in the optimal with captain. Other picks, we're looking to get to Tatum and Curry here. If I plug those guys in, I still leaves me with about over 6K left for the last few spots, and we have plenty of ways to work. If Porter is in at 4K, I do like him. See if we can make it work going with Otto Porter, just a guy off the bench that has been playing well this postseason. Dealing with a little bit of foot injury, but seems like he'll play, and at an affordable price tag. Not a lot of good bench options to pick from. He makes the cut. Derek White had a couple of good games. Last game in Game 7, he wasn't great, but he'll probably play, especially against play a good amount with how small Golden State likes to be at times. So I definitely don't mind looking at him. It doesn't let you get to Jaylen Brown, so you could go a little bit further down here. But I'm looking to maybe get to Marcus Smart if I can, and that leaves me with about $6,200 left. Now, if you wanted to play Robert Williams, you definitely could do something like that, or play Derek White and leave some money on the table. If Gary Payton does get cleared, and we know he's going to at least get some minutes off the bench, I could look to play him over maybe Otto Porter, and that would leave me with more flexibility and more money that I would probably be able to get to Jaylen Brown here, and then I could downgrade Marcus Smart to like an Al Horford or a Looney type, something like that. I mean, Looney's been getting you a ton of rebounds in the postseason. You could see some less minutes. If Boston goes a bit smaller, if they play Horford at the 5, which they will, then we can play Horford instead here and use all of our money. If you're trying to become like a solo, it's going to be very difficult to get solo first on any of these milli makers with over 100,000 entries, but you're going to be looking to leave money on the table and just do crazy things. So this isn't it, but I don't mind tying with some people if it ends up being the optimal. So that's looking at Wiggins at captain. Let's look at one with Tatum at captain. We could look to get to Marcus Smart here, get to Wiggins still. Maybe get to like Draymond at 68. He should, have a bounce back series, I'd say, against Boston. He's had last couple of games in the series against Dallas. He was playing well, and he was in foul trouble in some of these games against Dallas, so he didn't get his full amount of minutes. And we could see him a lot more at the 5, which I do expect. So, Draymond, if his stock is a little bit lower than other guys, just based on the last series, it's a completely different series. You don't know. Some of these rotations might be a little bit different. Players are going to play differently, except for like the studs. You kind of expect them to stay true, but some of the role players, second, third, the third, fourth bench guys, they might play a bit differently, and they might play some different minutes. But let's see, if we put in like Porter here, leaves us with 79, so we can look to get to Horford and leave some money on the table and do a balanced approach here. We could look to get to Klay Thompson, and we don't get to Steph Curry, but you get to everybody else that you probably want to get to with the other 3 big names with Wiggins, Green, and Thompson. So that's definitely something to look at. We could consider going further down to maybe like a Jordan Poole instead of Klay Thompson, and it leaves us with an extra $1,500 to spend, and we could upgrade Marcus Smart to a Jaylen Brown. We could upgrade Otto Porter to like a Derek White or something like that. If you're looking to go with the more couple of bench pieces like White and Poole in the same lineup, probably won't get too much ownership. And then the last approach we'll look at is one with Steph Curry at captain, just because if I'm going cheap, I'm probably considering Smart or Wiggins. If I'm paying up, it's going to be obviously for Tatum or Curry. Let's look at Curry at home. If we might not be able to get to Tatum in both. So we can get to Jaylen Brown, build around Brown and Smart instead, and go with like a 4K Otto Porter if he's in, or maybe consider if Gary Payton if he's in. That will leave us with some extra money to work with. And then we could mess around with Horford here. We have $8,100 left. Plug in like Klay Thompson. You feel decent about that, or put in Wiggins. Leave some money on the table. It's always a good idea on these massive showdown contests. So this is another approach that we can look to. But some of the best ones, I think, we're going a little bit cheaper at captain with like Wiggins, just so we can get to both of the superstars. So Wiggins, Tatum, Curry, those would be the guys I'm looking to start with. If I do play, go with Wiggins at captain, and then going with another play in the mid range. From the Boston side, it would probably be Marcus Smart. I'm assuming he's fully good to go, and he just gives you a lot of upside. Him and Tatum together, we've seen Smart outscore Brown on some occasions, and 1,000 less, I probably like Smart a little bit more. He's going to play a huge minutes, just defensively locked in on Curry all series. So that's what I got for DraftKings. Let's go ahead now and take a look at FanDuel. So FanDuel, just like DraftKings, has Jason Tatum as your most expensive player, which I do think makes sense just with how Tatum has averaged a little bit more fantasy points in the playoffs than Curry. But let's look at one with Tatum at MVP. Look to see if we can get to both Tatum and Curry as our top 2 spots, and then we'll have to go a little bit cheaper for our pro. I do like Wiggins, but it's a little bit of a different story. On DraftKings, he's cheaper than Klay Thompson. On FanDuel, Klay Thompson is $1,500 less, so it might be a little bit tougher to prioritize Wiggins on FanDuel. If I do put in like a Marcus Smart here at $12K, leaves us with $8,250, and we do have some decent value that we can look to at the bottom end. Starting with the $7,500 Otto Porter, Gary Payne, if he is in, take a look at his price tag. He's $6K flat, so that could be another way to save some money if he does get cleared to play. But if we put in Otto Porter, we're left with about $9,000 left, and in that case, maybe consider Derek White. See if we do plug in Payne, and if he is able to play. Probably limited minutes in this first one, but $6K, you're not going to get any cheaper than that. On FanDuel, we're able to get up to 10.5, so this is where we can plug in like Looney or plug in Jordan Poole. So this one I do like a good amount. Another one would be just flip-flopping Tatum and Steph Curry. I'll probably have Tatum or Curry as my MVP. I'm looking to get to at least one, if not both of them in the same lineup. So, if you wanted to play Curry at MVP, you could. I probably like Tatum just a little bit more at MVP, just with how much he's getting you in all the other categories with the defensive stats mixed in as well. And on FanDuel, you're not getting those bonuses for 3 points made, whereas Curry's more likely to score a bunch of threes than Tatum. But for me, it's going to be Tatum, Steph Curry, and then probably get to Marcus Smart at $12K. I probably won't be able to get to Wiggins. Probably won't be able to get Jaylen Brown with the top 2 guys I'm looking to get to. But if you're making a bunch of teams, obviously you want to mix those guys in. But Tatum would definitely be a priority. Steph Curry's a priority, and I like Marcus Smart a lot just based on his price tag. And then value would be like Looney, Poole at their price tags, maybe considering Derek White. And then value would be Otto Porter and Gary Payne if he's able to play. So that's what I got for Game 1 of the Finals. Best of luck. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully you guys make some money as well, and I'll see you all next time.